Hey, what's up dudes? Do Dining here with a buffalo chicken dip recipe. Whether we're needing a snack for game day or just some post-workout protein, Mrs. Dude has made this dip an absolute staple in our house. Let's go ahead and dive into making this dip, dude. As always, I'll be posting the full recipe and ingredients in the description box below, so go check that out too. First things first, we're going to preheat our oven to 400 degrees. We're going to begin prepping our ingredients, starting with chopping up some green onions. We're going to be setting aside probably about half of the green ends for our topping at the very end. We're going to be throwing in the other half into the dip itself alongside the white parts. We're also going to be chopping up some red onion that we're going to be throwing into the dip as well. You can feel free to go ahead and use white or yellow onion instead if you'd like. It won't make a huge difference at the end of the day for this recipe. Moving on to the star of the show, the chicken. You'll see here that we're using shredded chicken from a can just because it's what we had on hand, but you can use whatever you like for this, even rotisserie chicken if you're feeling fancy. Just make sure it's shredded. Then we've got our Greek yogurt. This is probably the biggest change you'll see that sets aside this recipe apart from the other buffalo chicken dip recipes. This is going to boost our protein and make this recipe a lot healthier too. Now for our cheeses. You can really go wild with this part and add whichever cheeses you like most. We happen to have mozzarella and a Mexican blend on hand, so that's what we ended up going with. As for the sauce, buffalo sauce like Frank's Red Hot is really the only way to go here. But if you don't like spice, you could always try out using barbecue sauce or something, but I haven't tried that out yet, so I really can't speak to how good that would actually end up being. Next up, we've got our spices, salt, pepper, and garlic powder. I would honestly just stick to using these three by themselves because we're already getting a lot of flavor from some of our other ingredients, but I'll leave that up to you. Our last ingredient for the mix itself is going to be cream cheese. We're using a light version here to cut out some of the extra calories and to keep this dip protein heavy. The full fat cream cheese can also make the dip a little watery when it's baking, which isn't up my alley personally. But if you're feeling weird and you want to try it, then go ahead and do your thing, dude. Then we're going to use a spoon or spatula just to mix everything up really well here. You're going to want all this to be blended together super evenly, otherwise you're going to end up with pockets of all cheese or pockets of all chicken. I know that may sound interesting to you, but I promise it's so much better whenever it's all mixed together. For a macronutrient breakdown of our buffalo chicken dip, we're looking at about 16 grams of protein, 7 grams of fat, and 1 gram of carbs per serving. This entire recipe is going to be making us about 10 servings, so this is honestly a top tier option to get your protein in for the day and also works well on a keto diet. Of course, this is all going to depend on what ingredients you end up using. Before we get this bad boy into the oven, we're going to want to grease up a baking dish. We're using Crisco here, but you can really use any kind of oil or butter for this. You won't need a lot, just enough to lightly coat the dish. Then we're going to use a spoon or spatula to scoop the dip out onto our greased baking dish. You're going to want to make sure it's spread evenly across the dish, otherwise it's not going to cook evenly and it's going to turn into a giant mess. The last step before baking our buffalo chicken dip is going to be adding blue cheese on top. Again, feel free to use whatever cheese you like, but I will say that blue cheese absolutely slaps in this recipe, and I definitely suggest using it whenever you make it. Now we're going to throw it in our preheated oven for between 15 and 20 minutes. We found 16 minutes to be the sweet spot for our oven. Basically, you're going to check to make sure the cheese on top is melted, and you should start seeing the dip bubbling up too. The top should start browning, but if it's turning black, then take it out because it's burning. When it's all done, take it out and try to stay away from it for at least 10 minutes while it cools. I know that's way easier said than done, but you're going to want to give those flavors the opportunity to get to know each other. Last thing you got to do is throw on those green onions and chow down, my man. As always, thanks for watching, dudes. If you have any questions or want to share how yours turned out, drop a comment below and make sure to like and subscribe for more Dude Dining content, and I'll check you later.